The Gurjara-Pratihara dynasty, one of the prominent dynasties of early medieval India, it played a key role in resisting Arab invasions, Arab invasions, and shaping the political landscape of northern India. The dynasty's rule spanned from approximately the 6th to 11th century, with its zenith under powerful rulers like Nagabhatta I, Mihira Bhoja, and Mahendrapala I. The origins and early history. The origins of Gurjara Pratiharas are a subject of debate, with some theories linking them to the Gurjara tribes who migrated from the region of present day Gujarat, while others claim them to be of indigenous Rajput origin. Their early rise is attributed to Hari Chandra, considered the founder of the dynasty, who established a kingdom in Mandor near present day Jodhpur. The dynasty derives its name from Pratihara, a title meaning doorkeeper or guardian, which may have originally referred to the family's role in royal courts. Nagabhatta I, 730 to 760 CE. Nagabhatta I, a pivotal early king, is credited with successfully resisting Arab invasions from the west. He defeated that Arab governor Junaid, who led forces of the Umayyad Caliphate in the Battle of Rajasthan, 738 CE. His victory over the Arabs was crucial as it prevented further Islamic expansion into India at the time. Nagabhatta I also expanded the Pratihara domain, defeating neighboring kingdoms such as the Mokhirs and the Metrakas of Vallabhi. We will try to find out who were they later on. I'll explain their details subsequently. Expansion and consolidation. Let us understand the expansion and consolidation of Vatsa Raja and Nagabhatta II. After Nagabhatta I, his successor Vatsa Raja 780 to 800 CE waged campaigns to expand the kingdom. He fought against the Palas of Bengal and the Rashtrakutas of Deccan, attempting to establish supremacy over the northern plains of India. His son Nagabhatta II, 800 to 833 CE, consolidated these gains and is considered one of the greatest Gurjara Pratihara rulers. He successfully defeated Dhruva, the Rashtrakuta ruler who attacked Kannauj. Nagabhatta too also repelled the Pala king Dharampala and established Kannauj as the new capital of the Pratihara Empire, asserting dominance over northern India. The apex of power, Mihir Bhoj. The reign of Mihir Bhoj marked the zenith of the Gurjara Pratihara Empire, 836 to 885 CE. He ascended the throne around 836 CE and ruled for nearly half a century. Bhojavan is credited with extensive territorial conquests, stretching the Pratihara influence from the Indus River in the west to the Bengal region in the east. and from the Himalayas in the north to the Narmada River in the south. His epithet, Adi Varaha, one of the incarnations of Vishnu, indicates the dynasty's devotion to Vaishnavism. Bhoja successfully maintained his dominance over Kannauj, repelling multiple invasions from the Palas and Rashtrakutas, creating a tripartite struggle for control of northern India. His military victories were largely enabled by a strong cavalry, earning the dynasty a reputation for having one of the finest armies of the time. Mahendrapala I, 885 to 910 CE. After Bhoja, his son Mahendrapala I further strengthened the empire and continued to hold Kannauj. His reign saw a period of peace and prosperity, and he made significant contributions to literature, arts, and culture. Mahendrapala's inscriptions suggest that his empire extended even further than his father's into Magadha and parts of Bengal. He maintained the Gurjara-Pratihara hold over the Ganges, Yamuna, Doab and North India. Ganges, Yamuna, Doab means the area between the Ganga and Yamuna. Decline of the empire. The empire started to decline after the reign of Mahipala, 913-944 CE, with internal rebellions, challenges from the Rashtrakutas, and the rise of regional powers like Chandelas and the Paramars. The most damaging blow came when the Rashtrakuta king Indra III sacked Kannauj in 916 CE. This weakened the Pratihara hold over their key territories. The decline was hastened by the continuous attacks from the Chauhans and Chandelas and other Rajput clans who started asserting independence. Arab invasions and role as defenders. A significant aspect of the Pratihara's rule was their continuous defense against Arab invaders. The Caliphate armies, after establishing Sindh, attempted to push further into India but were consistently repelled by the Pratiharas. The resistance in the western frontiers, modern day Rajasthan and Gujarat, was vital in preventing the further spread of Islamic rule in the heartland of India, earning the Pratiharas a reputation as defenders of Hinduism. Cultural contributions. The Gurjara Pratiharas were great patrons of art and culture. The dynasty is particularly known for its support of Sanskrit literature and Vaishnavism. Their rule saw the construction of many temples, most notably in central and northern India. The Khajuraho temples, though mainly associated with Chandela dynasty, have early architectural roots linked to the Pratiharas. Their influence on temple architecture is visible in the Nagara style, which became prominent under their reign. Temples in places like Gwalior and Rajasthan exhibit intricate carvings and stone craftsmanship typical of the Pratihara style. Administrative and economic system. The Pratihara Empire was based on well-organized feudal system with a network of vassal kings and land grants to Brahmins and warriors. The king retained the central authority, but regional governance was often delegated to local rulers. Their economy thrived on agriculture, trade, and tribute. Kannauj, under their rule, became a hub of international trade, with goods flowing from the Silk Route and the Arab traders and through Arab traders. Fall and legacy. By the end of 10th century, the Pratihara Empire had fragmented due to internal dissent and external pressures. The rise of Rajput dynasties like the Chauhans, Solankis, and Chandelas marked the final phase of their decline. Vijayapala and Rajapala, later rulers, were unable to stop the empire's fall, and the Ghaznavid invasion of Mahmud of Ghazni in the early 11th century delivered a final blow to the Pratihara power in Kannauj. Though the dynasty lost its political importance, its contributions to resisting invasions and fostering Indian culture left a lasting legacy. Key points. Capital: Initially Mandor, later shifted to Kannauj. Religion, the Gurjara-Pratiharas were primarily Hindu Vaishnavites, but tolerant of other religions like Buddhism and Jainism. Dynastic rivals, the Palas of Bengal and Rashtrakutas of Deccan, leading to the tripartite struggle over Kannauj. Military, known for their strong cavalry and resistance to foreign invasions, particularly the Arabs. The Gurjara-Pratihara dynasty stands as a significant political and military power that shaped early medieval northern India and contributed to the defense of Hindu civilization during a turbulent period. The Maukhers were a powerful dynasty that ruled parts of northern India during the 6th and 7th centuries CE. They played a significant role in shaping the political landscape of the Gangetic plains before being absorbed by the later dominant Harsha Empire. Origins and rise of the Maukhers, Maukharis. Origins and rise, the exact origins of the Maukharis are somewhat unclear, though they are believed to have been a local ruling family with roots in the Gangetic plains. Early inscriptions suggest that the Maukharis may have originally been feudatories or subordinates of the Gupta Empire. As the Gupta began to decline in the late 5th and early 6th centuries, the Maukharis rose to prominence, asserting their independence and establishing themselves as a powerful dynasty. Their rise to power is closely associated with the weakening of the Guptas and the fragmentation of their empire, as various regional powers, including the Maukharis, vied for control. Territorial control, the Maukharis established their control over parts of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and Madhya Pradesh, with their capital located at Kannauj, one of the most important cities in early medieval India. They also controlled key regions in the Ganga Yamuna Doab, a highly fertile and strategically important area that allowed them to sustain a large army and maintain influence in northern India. Key rulers of the Maukharis, Hari Varman, he is one of the earliest known rulers of the Maukhari dynasty, and inscriptions suggest that he played a significant role in consolidating the kingdom and asserting its independence from the Guptas. Ishana Varman, 550-560 CE, the most prominent king of the Maukharis, Ishana Varman was responsible for expanding the kingdom's territory and defeating rival powers. His reign marked the high point of the Maukhari power, and he is credited with defeating the Hunas, a Central Asian nomadic tribe that had invaded parts of northern India. His victory over the Hunas helped stabilize northern India and maintain the region's integrity during a period of significant upheaval. Sarvavarman, Ishwar, Ishanavarman was succeeded by Sarvavarman, who also managed to expand and consolidate Maukhari territory. Avantivarman, another important ruler in the Maukhari lineage, Avantivarman continued the military campaigns of his predecessors. Under him, the Maukharis maintained their dominance over Kannauj and resisted encroachments from neighboring dynasties. Grahavarman, the last significant Maukhari ruler, Grahavarman, ascended the throne around the early 7th century. His rule came to a tragic end when he was defeated and killed by the powerful Gauda king Shashanka, the ruler of Bengal. Grahavarman was married to Rajeshri, the sister of Harsha, later Emperor Harshavardhana. His defeat and death led to a crucial turn in northern Indian politics, setting the stage for Harsha's rise to power. Maukharis and their rivals. The Maukharis were involved in a number of conflicts with rival powers, including the later Guptas, the Hunas, and the Gaudas. They were locked in a struggle for control of the key city of Kannauj, which was central to trade, politics, and military strategy in northern India. Their control over Kannauj allowed them to exert influence over the Ganges plain. The Huna invasions were a significant threat during the reign of Ishan Varman, and his military successes in repelling these invasions cemented the Maukharis' role as defenders of northern India. Downfall of the Mockeries. The downfall of the Mockeries was precipitated by internal instability and external pressure from stronger regional powers. The key event leading to the dynasty's collapse was the defeat of Grahavarman at the hands of the Shashanka, the king of Gauda. Shashanka's invasion was brutal, and Grahavarman was either killed or captured, leaving the Mokri kingdom in disarray. In the aftermath of this defeat, Grahavarman's widow, Rajyashri, was rescued by her brother Harsha, who at the time was the ruler of Thanesar. This led to the union of Maukari's remaining territory with the Vardhana Empire under Harshvardhana. Harsha later became the dominant ruler in northern India, absorbing the Maukri domains and making Kannauj the seat of his empire. Administration and society. The Mokris followed a typical monarchical system with the king at the apex, supported by a hierarchy of ministers and officials who oversaw the administration of the kingdom. Their governance system included land grants to Brahmins and temples, a practice inherited from the Gupta period which helped legitimize their rule and establish religious patronage. Their rule is marked by an emphasis on Vaishnavism and Shaifism, with the royal court patronizing both sects. The rulers often performed Vedic sacrifices and were patrons of Brahmanical Hinduism. Cultural contributions. While the Mokkaris are not known for any specific monumental architecture, their reign was a period of relative cultural stability that allowed for the flourishing of Sanskrit literature and learning. They were also patrons of Brahmanical traditions, and religious and educational institutions received considerable support from the royal court. Their courts are believed to have attracted scholars and Brahmins from across India, particularly those focused on Vedic and classical Sanskrit learning. Military achievements. The Mokris are noted for their military prowess, particularly under Ishan who repelled the Hunas and asserted the dynasty's dominance over northern India. Their armies were composed of infantry, cavalry, and elephant forces, which were typical of Indian military formations of the time. Their ability to control strategic territories like Kannauj allowed them to levy tributes from vassals and maintain a strong military force. Legacy of the Mokris. The Mokris' legacy is often overshadowed by the subsequent rise of Harshavardhana, but their role in maintaining political order and defending northern India during a period of fragmentation was significant. Their rule at Kannauj set the stage for later dynasties to recognize the city as a major seat of power in northern India. Kannauj would go on to be a focal point for many empires, including the Gurjara-Pratiharas, Palas, and Rashtrakutas. The struggle against the Hunas helped protect northern India from significant foreign incursions during their reign. Key takeaways. Capital Kannauj, prominent rulers Ishanavarman, Sarvavarman, Avantivarman, Grahavarman. Rivals Guptas, Hunas, Gaudas under Shashanka and later absorbed into Harsha's empire. Religion primarily Hindu, Vaishnavism and Shaivism. Decline, defeat of Grahavarman by Shashanka, leading to the rise of Harshavardhana. The Mokkaris played an important transitional role in the politics of northern India, bridging the gap between the decline of the Guptas and the rise of Harsha, while also acting as a buffer against foreign invasions during their reign. The Maitrakas of Vallabhi were a significant dynasty that ruled in the region of Saurashtra, modern day Gujarat, during the 6th to the 8th centuries CE. Their capital, Vallabhi, became a notable center of learning and power, and the Maitrakas established a legacy of political stability and cultural patronage during a time when much of the northern and central India was experiencing fragmentation after the decline of the Gupta Empire. Origins and rise. The Maitraka dynasty was founded in the early 6th century by Senapati Senapati Bhattarka, a military general who is believed to have served under the later Gupta emperors. Following the weakening of Gupta authority, Bhattarka established his own independent rule in Saurashtra, modern Kathiawar Peninsula. The title Senapati indicates that Bhattarka initially ruled as a military governor or general, but over time he and his successors became independent rulers. The Matrakas rise coincided with the decline of the Gupta Empire and the fragmentation of northern Indian political power, allowing regional dynasties like the Matrakas to establish and consolidate their rule. Territorial control. The Matrakas ruled from their capital at Vallabhi, which was located near modern day Bhavnagar in Gujarat. Vallabhi was strategically important due to its proximity to the Arabian Sea, facilitating trade and communication with other parts of India and abroad. Their territory primarily included Saurashtra, Kathiawar Peninsula, and parts of Gujarat, and at their peak, they exercised influence over a large part of western India. Key rulers of Matrakas, Bhattarka 470 to 492 CE, the founder of the Matraka dynasty. Bhattarka established Vallabhi as his capital and laid the foundation of the dynasty's power. Dharasena I, one of the early rulers, and Dharasena I is credited with further strengthening the kingdom's political position. Drona Simha 550 CE. Under Drona Simha, the Matraka kingdom expanded its territorial control and solidified its influence over the region. Guhasena 555 to 570 CE. Guhasena's reign was marked by stability and consolidation. He is also known for maintaining friendly relations with other contemporary dynasties, including the Gupta remnants. Dharasena II, he was one of the more prominent rulers of the Matrakas 570 to 595 CE, and his reign saw the peak of Vallabhi's political and cultural power. Shiladitya I Dharmaditya 595 to 615 CE, known as a wise and just ruler, Shiladitya I is credited with expanding the kingdom and making Vallabhi a renowned center of learning and culture. He was likely a contemporary of Harshavardhana of Thanesar, and there are suggestions that both rulers had cordial relations. Shiladitya II, 645 CE. After the reign of Shiladitya I, the Matraka dynasty continued to thrive under Shiladitya II and other later rulers. Dharasena IV, his reign was marked by further consolidation of power, 650 to 665 CE. Inscriptions from his period suggests increased royal patronage to religious and educational institutions. Administration and governance. The Matrakas followed the traditional monarchical system of administration with the king at the center of governance, supported by ministers and officials. The titles used in their inscriptions, such as Maha Samantdipati, feudatory lord, and Rajaputra, indicate the feudal character of their administration. Vallabhi under the Matrakas was known for its administrative efficiency and maintained strong local governance, which contributed to the stability of the kingdom for over 2 centuries. The Matraka rulers issued land grants, which played a key role in supporting religious and educational institutions, further contributing to the region's cultural development. Relations with other dynasties. The Matrakas were contemporaries of other significant dynasties such as the Guptas, Vakatakas, Harshas, Vardhana dynasty, and later the Chalukyas of Badami. The Matrakas maintained diplomatic relations with Harsha, the emperor of northern India, and although they were largely independent, they might have acknowledged his sovereignty at certain times. They also had interactions with Chalukyas of southern India and the Arab traders from the western coast who frequently visited the ports of Gujarat. Cultural contributions and Vallabhi University. Vallabhi became an important cultural and intellectual center under the Matrakas, rivaling even the more famous universities of Nalanda and Takshila. It was renowned for its Buddhist learning, although both Buddhism and Hinduism flourished under Matraka patronage. Vallabhi University attracted scholars from all over India and abroad, including those from the Central Asia and China. The famous Chinese traveler Zhuang Zhang visited Vallabhi Huan Zhang visited Vallabhi the 7th century in the 7th century and described it as a flourishing center of education and culture. The university was noted for its teachings in Buddhist philosophy and Vedic texts, and students from both Hindu and Buddhist traditions studied there. The Matrakas were primarily followers of Shaivism, as indicated by inscriptions and religious donations. However, they were also patrons of Buddhism, as Vallabhi became an important center for Mahayana Buddhism during their reign. The dynasty practiced religious tolerance, and rulers made grants to Brahmins, Shaiva temples, and Buddhist monasteries, showcasing their inclusive approach to governance. Military and defense. The Matrakas maintained a strong military presence to protect their kingdom from external threats. They had a well organized army that included infantry, cavalry, and war elephants, typical of Indian military formation of the time. Their location on the western coast made them vulnerable to invasions from Central Asian groups, particularly the Hunas and the later Arab invaders. However, they successfully defended their territory for the most part. Decline of the Matrakas. The Matraka dynasty began to decline in the late 7th and early 8th centuries due to internal strife and pressure from external forces. The Arab invasion in the early 8th century, particularly after the establishment of the Umayyad Caliphate in Sindh under Mahmud bin Qasim, posed a significant threat. Although the Arabs did not manage to conquer Vallabi itself, their presence in nearby regions weakened the Matrakas' control. The dynasty came to an end around 775 CE when Vallabi was likely destroyed, possibly by Arab forces, marking the end of the Matraka rule. Some sources suggest that Gurjara-Pratiharas might have also contributed to their downfall as they emerged as the dominant power in Western India. Legacy. The Matrakas of Vallabi left a lasting legacy, particularly in terms of their contributions to education and culture. Vallabi University became a symbol of their cultural patronage and its reputation survived long after the dynasty's decline. The dynasty's political achievements helped stabilize the region of Saurashtra during a period of fragmentation, and they played an important role in the transition from Gupta to post Gupta power structures in Western India. Their religious tolerance and support for both Hinduism and Buddhism exemplified the inclusive nature of early medieval Indian rulers who often balanced multiple religious interests within their kingdoms. Key takeaways: capital Vallabi, modern day Bhavnagar, Gujarat. Prominent rulers: Bhattarka, Shiladitya I, Dharasena II, Guhasena. Cultural influence: major patterns of learning, founders of Vallabi University. Religion: primarily Shaivism and Buddhism. Religious tolerance: decline, invaded by Arabs in the 8th century. Dynasty weakened and eventually fell. The Matrakas of Vallabi were a key dynasty in early medieval India, especially in the western regions where they fostered a culture of learning, religious tolerance, and political stability. Their contributions, especially in education and religious patronage, had a long lasting impact on the region even after their downfall. Harsha Vardhana 590 to 647 CE was one of the most powerful and celebrated rulers of early medieval India. He reigned over a vast empire in northern India and established a brief period of political stability, cultural prosperity, and religious patronage following the fall of Gupta Empire. Harsha's reign is often seen as a transition from ancient to medieval India, marked by significant achievements in administration, diplomacy, and cultural patronage. His capital was Kannauj, modern Uttar Pradesh, and his kingdom extended over large parts of northern India. Early life and background: Harsha was born into the royal family of the Pushyabhuti dynasty, which originally ruled a small kingdom in Thanesar, modern day Haryana. His father, Prabhakar Vardhana, was a local ruler of Thanesar who expanded his influence in the region. Harsha's mother was named Yashomati. Harsha had an elder brother, Rajavardhana, who succeeded Prabhakar Vardhana as king after his death. Tragic family events and Harsha's rise to power. Harsha's rise to the throne was marked by family tragedies and political intrigue. His elder brother, Rajavardhan, was killed while seeking to avenge the murder of his brother in law, Grahavarman, the ruler of Kannauj, by the king of the Malwa dynasty, Devagupta. Rajavardhana had initially defeated Devagupta but was later assassinated by Shashanka, the king of Gauda, Bengal, in a treacherous encounter. Following these events, Harsha took control of both the kingdom of Thanesar and Kannauj, and in 606 CE, he was crowned emperor at the age of 16. He assumed the responsibility of avenging his family and restoring stability to the region. Military campaigns and expansion of the empire. Harsha embarked on several military campaigns to consolidate his authority and expand his empire. He successfully subdued neighboring kingdoms and extended his control over much of the northern India, including the regions of Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and parts of Odisha. He waged a prolonged war against Shashanka, the king of Gauda, who had murdered his brother. Though Shashanka was not fully defeated, Harsha was able to weaken his influence and exert control over parts of eastern India. Harsha's empire reached its zenith in the early 7th century, with his suzerainty acknowledged from the Himalayas in the north to the Narmada River in the south, and from Bengal in the east to the parts of Gujarat in the west. The southern boundary of Harsha's empire was marked by his failed attempts to extend his control of the Deccan. He faced a significant setback when he was defeated by Pulakeshin II, the Chalukya king of Badami in 618 CE on the banks of the Narmada River. The defeat marked the southern limit of Harsha's empire. Administration and governance. Harsha's administration was modeled after the Gupta system, but he made certain innovation to strengthen the central authority. He ruled with the assistance of a council of ministers, including trusted advisors and military commanders. His administration was highly decentralized, with local rulers and feudatories managing the day to day affairs of their regions, while paying tribute and allegiance to Harsha as the paramount ruler. Harsha personally oversaw governance and regularly toured the empire to ensure justice and efficient administration. The king maintained a large standing army, though it was also supplemented by forces from regional feudatories. His military was composed of infantry, cavalry, and war elephants, which were essential in medieval Indian warfare. Cultural and religious patronage. Harsha was known as great patron of culture, education, and religion. His court became a center of intellectual and cultural activity, attracting scholars, poets, and artists from across India. The famous Sanskrit playwright and poet Bana, who wrote Harsha Charita, biographical account of Harsha's life, and the romantic play Kadambari, was a member of his court. Bana's works provide invaluable insights into Harsha's reign and personality. Harsha himself was an accomplished writer and composed three Sanskrit plays, Naganda, Ratnavali, and Priyadarsika, which reflect his intellectual interest and his support of literature and drama. Religious policies and personal beliefs. Harsha was initially a follower of Shaivism, devotion to Lord Shiva, but later in life he converted to Mahayana Buddhism under the influence of the Buddhist scholar Xuanzang, Xuanzang, the Chinese traveler who spent time at Harsha's court. It can be spoken as perhaps Xuanzang or Huanzang. Huanzang, perhaps. Huanzang. You can check the pronunciation. Despite his personal inclination towards Buddhism, Harsha was a tolerant ruler who extended patronage to all major religions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. He is known to have organized large assemblies where representatives of different religious traditions engaged in debates. Harsha's support for Buddhism was particularly significant. He built monasteries and stupas, and he generously endowed Buddhist institutions. He also convened a major Buddhist council at Kannauj in 643 CE, which was attended by Wenzhang and many other scholars and monks from across Asia. Harsha's reign is notable for the religious tolerance he practiced, which allowed different faiths to coexist and flourish under his rule. Wenzhang's visit and description. The Chinese Buddhist monk Wenzhang visited Harsha's court in the 7th century during his pilgrimage to India. Wenzhang stayed for several years and described Harsha's rule in glowing terms. According to Wen Zhang, Harsha was a wise, just, and benevolent ruler, deeply concerned with the welfare of his subjects. He also recorded Harsha's religious inclinations, his generosity toward Buddhist monasteries, and the grandeur of his court. Wen Zhang's writings, particularly his great Tang records of the western regions, provide detailed accounts of Harsha's reign, the prosperity of his empire, and the social and religious conditions of India during that period. Economic and trade prosperity. Harsha's reign is considered a period of economic stability and prosperity in northern India. His kingdoms was well integrated into regional and international trade networks, with merchants trading goods such as spices, textiles, and precious metals. The location of his capital, Kannauj, on the Ganges River, gave it strategic importance as a trade and cultural center. The river served as a major route for transporting goods, and Kannauj emerged as a vibrant hub of commerce and cultural exchange during his rule. Foreign relations. Harsha maintained diplomatic relations with neighboring regions and kingdoms. His reign saw increased contact with China, as evidenced by the visit of Wenzhang and the subsequent exchange of envoys between Harsha's court and the Tang dynasty. Harsha also corresponded with other South and Southeast Asian kingdoms, though his influence remained primarily with northern Eastern India. Decline and death. Harsha's reign lasted for over 40 years and he died around 647 CE, leaving behind a large but somewhat loosely held empire. His death marked the beginning of the decline of his empire. Harsha did not have a direct heir, which led to power vacuum after his death. His empire was soon weakened by internal strife and external pressures from emerging powers such as the Gurjara-Pratiharas and other regional dynasties. The period following Harsha's death saw the fragmentation of northern India into smaller regional kingdoms, ending the brief period of unity and stability that Harsha had maintained. Legacy: Harshavardhana's reign is often remembered as the last great imperial power in northern India before the rise of the medieval regional kingdoms. His efforts to unite the fractured political landscape of post Gupta India had a lasting influence, though his empire disintegrated shortly after his death. Harsha's patronage of culture, literature, and religion had a significant impact on Indian civilization. His support for Buddhism contributed to the continued spread of the religion in India and abroad, particularly in Southeast Asia. The Harsha Charita and Xuanzang's accounts are among the key historical sources that provide insights into the political, culture, and religious life of early medieval India. Despite the eventual collapse of his empire, Harsha's reign is considered a golden age in terms of political stability, cultural achievements, and religious tolerance. Key takeaways: Dynasty: Pushyabhuti dynasty, reign is 606 to 647 CE. Capital is Kannauj. Religion is initially Saivism, later converted to Mahayana Buddhism. Key figures: Yuanzhang, Chinese traveler; Shashanka, king of Gauda; and Pulakeshin II, Chalukya king. Legacy: pattern of culture, literature, Buddhism, religious tolerance, and administration modeled after the Gupta Empire. Devagupta was the king of the Malwa region during the early 7th century CE and played a significant role in the events that led to the rise of Harshavardhana. His actions set off a chain of political instability in northern India, particularly in Kannauj, which eventually allowed Harsha to expand his empire. Historical context: Devagupta was the ruler of Malwa, a central Indian region known for its strategic importance. Malwa was a prominent kingdom during the post Gupta period and played a critical role in the regional power struggles. His rule occurred during a time of political fragmentation following the collapse of the Gupta Empire, with numerous smaller kingdoms vying for supremacy in northern India. Conflict with Kannauj and Grahavarman. Devagupta's most infamous act was his conflict with Grahavarman, the ruler of Kannauj, and his connection to the Harshavardhana's family. Grahavarman had married Rajashri, the sister of Harshavardhana and Rajavardhana of Thanesar. This marriage created a powerful alliance between the kingdoms of Thanesar and Kannauj. In order to weaken this alliance and expand his influence, Devagupta attacked Kannauj, defeating and killing Grahavarman. He imprisoned Rajashri, which led to a significant political and personal crisis for the Vardhana family. Alliance with Shashanka. Devagupta was reportedly allied with Shashanka, the powerful ruler of God, Bengal, who had ambitions to expand his influence in northern India. After defeating Grahavarman, Devagupta sought Shashanka's support to counter the Vardhana dynasty of Thanesar. It is believed that Shashanka played a role in the assassination of Rajavardhana, Harsha's elder brother, after Rajavardhana set out to avenge Grahavarman's death. This alliance between Devagupta and Shashanka further destabilized the political landscape of northern India. Rajavardhana and Harsha's response. In response to the assassination of Grahavarman and the imprisonment of their sister Rajashri, Rajavardhana of Thanesar launched a campaign to confront Devagupta. He initially succeeded in defeating Devagupta but was treacherously murdered by Shashanka. After Rajavardhana's death, Harsha assumed control of the kingdom of Thanesar and launched a retaliatory campaign. He defeated Devagupta and liberated Kannauj, rescuing his sister Rajyashri. Devagupta's defeat marked the beginning of the Harsha's rise as a major power in northern India. Harsha merged the territories of Thanesar and Kannauj and eventually built a vast empire. Significance of Devagupta's action. Devagupta's aggression against Kannauj and the Vardhana family indirectly set the stage for Harsha's rise to power. His actions, along with the assassination of Rajavardhana by Shashanka, created the circumstances that propelled Harsha into his long reign of over 40 years. Despite Devagupta's defeat, his actions catalyzed the political reorganization of northern India, with Kannauj becoming the center of Harsha's empire. Key takeaways: region Malwa, notable event, defeated and killed Grahavarman, ruler of Kannauj, and imprisoned Rajashri, triggering the rise of Harshavardhana. Alliances allied with Shashanka, the king of God, who played a part in the assassination of Rajavardhana. Legacy: his defeat and aggression contributed to the rise of Harshavardhana as a major power in northern India. Shashanka was the first independent king of Gauda, modern day Bengal, and parts of Bihar and Odisha in the early 7th century CE. He is most notable for his rivalry with Harshavardhana, his role in the political landscape of northern India after the fall of the Gupta Empire, and his efforts to consolidate power in eastern India. Background and rise to power. Shashanka's early life and background are not well documented. He likely belonged to a local royal lineage and rose to prominence by uniting parts of Gauda, a region corresponding to present day West Bengal, and parts of Bihar and Odisha. Shashanka took advantage of the decline of the Guptas and the political vacuum in northern and eastern India, establishing himself as the ruler of Gauda in the early 7th century. Conflicts with Harshavardhana and the Vardhana dynasty. Shashanka is primarily remembered for his role in the power struggles that involved Harshavardhana of Thanesar. After the death of Prabhakar Vardhana, the father of the Rajavardhana and Harshavardhana, Shashanka forged an alliance with Devagupta, the king of Malwa, to destabilize the Vardhana dynasty. When Grahavarman, the ruler of Kannauj and brother-in-law of Harsha, was killed by Devagupta, Rajavardhana of Thanesar set out to avenge his death. Shashanka, in alliance with Devagupta, is believed to have treacherously assassinated Rajavardhana after invited him to a supposed meeting. Following Rajavardhana's assassination, Harshavardhana ascended the throne of Thanesar and embarked on a campaign to defeat Shashanka and avenge his brother's death. Shashanka's kingdom. Shashanka established an independent kingdom centered around Gauda and extended his control of the Pundravarthana region, modern day northern Bengal, and parts of Magadha, Bihar. His capital was at Karna Suvarna in modern day Murshidabad, West Bengal. He is often credited with founding the first Gauda kingdom, marking an important period in the political history of Bengal. Role in the decline of Buddhism. Shashanka is controversially remembered in Buddhist sources as an ardent opponent of Buddhism. He is accused of persecuting Buddhists and attempting to suppress the religion according to Buddhist traditions. Shashanka is said to have cut down the Bodhi tree at the Bodh Gaya, an act that earned him a negative reputation among Buddhist historians. Some sources also claim he destroyed Buddhist monasteries and erected Shiva Lingas in their place, suggesting that he promoted Shaivism and Hinduism over Buddhism. Conflict with Harsha. Despite being a strong ruler in eastern India, Shashanka faced challenges in maintaining his position, especially from Harsha. After the assassination of Rajavardhana, Harsha sought to confront Shashanka and avenge his brother's death. Harsha's campaign led to the gradual weakening of Shashanka's influence in northern India. Though Harsha succeeded in reducing Shashanka's power in Magadha, Shashanka retained his hold over Gaud for some time, maintaining control of eastern Bengal. Shashanka's death and the end of his dynasty. Shashanka's death in the mid 7th century, around 637 CE, marked the end of his brief dominance in eastern India. Following his death, his kingdom fragmented and Gauda fell into relative obscurity for several decades. After his demise, Harsha's influence expanded and Gauda was eventually absorbed into the larger political sphere of northern India. Legacy and historical significance. Shashanka's legacy is mixed. He is seen as a capable ruler who established the first independent kingdom of Gauda, making him a significant figure in the early medieval history of Bengal. He is, however, also portrayed negatively by Buddhist sources for his persecution of Buddhism and his alleged destruction of Buddhist sites. His rivalry with Harsha contributed to the political instability of northern India during the post Gupta era, and his actions set the stage for later power struggles in Bengal. Key points: region, ruler of Gauda, modern Bengal with influence in Magadha and parts of northern India, notable for his rivalry with Harshavardhana and his alliance with Devagupta of Malwa. Religion, a strong proponent of Shaivism, accused of suppressing Buddhism. Conflicts, assassinated Rajavardhana, leading to a war with Harshavardhana. Capital, Karna Suvarna, modern Murshidabad, West Bengal. Legacy, a mixed figure remembered for founding the Gauda kingdom and for his role in religious conflicts, as well as contributing to the political chaos in post-Gupta period.